Before we get on with the podcast, I'd like to mention that I now have 3 books for sale on Kindle. Recommended Reading for the True Conservative, Bad Democrat, and now Evil Liberal. All available for $3.99 or through Kindle Unlimited. Now, on with the podcast.
I think the strangest thing in my family was just weird about sex, you know? I was the oldest of 5 kids in a tiny little house. When my parents wanted alone time, they would gather us together, say, kids, go play hide and seek, and they'd lock their bedroom door for an hour. Of course, I always knew what was going on in there. I mean, I would hide in their room.
Good morning. It's Tuesday, Trump Tuesday, July the 28th, and this is The True Conservative. Welcome to all the butchers, bakers, and candlestick makers out there. I'm Ron, your host, and the only true conservative in the United States today. So today, after the Serenity Prayer and the patriotic song of the day, we will have Varney and Company and President Trump. All that and more when I get back. God grant me the serenity to accept the things I should not change, the courage to change the things I should, and the wisdom to know the difference. Amen. Thank you. Now, Varney and Company.
Somebody picks it up now. Stu, take it away.
All right. Good morning, Maria. Good morning, everyone. There are no summer doldrums in the news business. Certainly not this year. Look what we have for you today. The president imposes a toll on cargo leaving the Gulf. He'll address the nation Thursday night. Oil spikes to over $80 a barrel. New York halts data center construction. And yes, there is this. Inflation at the consumer level. Big surprise. Last month, the index went down 0.4%. That is the largest negative reading since 2020 during the pandemic. Not much talk of a rate hike now. In the last year, prices up 3.5%. That is less than expected. Here's the market reaction. Investors kind of like it. The Dow is down 120 points, but almost all of that loss is accounted for by IBM, which is down sharply this morning. More on that later. The S&P is up 18, but look at that NASDAQ, up 310 points. That's a little better than 1%. Interest rates, they're down just a little. The 10-year Treasury yield is around just above 4.5%. It's down a fraction this morning. The 2-year is actually well below 4.25%. You're down 7 basis points at 4.19. Bitcoin still in the low $60,000 range, 63.7 at the moment. And look at oil. Action in the Gulf has pushed the price past $80 a barrel. The president will impose a 20% tariff on cargo moving on ships out of the Gulf. He says, "We guarded the strait for 50 years and never got paid for it. Now you have to pay for protection." On the show today, the Democratic Socialists of America are on a roll. They're winning elections. So their big strategy meeting Sunday should have been a love fest. It wasn't. The delegates were at each other's throats. Personality clashes, rivalries, the search for socialist purity. AOC was supposed to be named the party's contender for 2028, but she was rejected because she wasn't sufficiently pro-Palestinian. And then there's the World Cup. Yep, Bastille Day in France, and their soccer team takes the field against Spain in the World Cup, or a World Cup semi-final. 2 world-class strikers on display, Kylian Mbappe for France, Lamine Yamal for Spain. France is the favorite, but Spain has allowed only 1 goal scored against them in the entire tournament thus far. 3 p.m. Eastern on Fox. Tuesday, July the 14th, 2026. Varney and Company is about to begin.
And that was good old Stu. Non-profit news now. Back in a minute. Thank you. More attentive, more apologetic. The bad Democrat will do whatever it takes to pull the conservative back into the role they've always played. But the awakened conservative no longer responds in the same way. They begin to see through the cycle, the idealization, the devaluation, the guilt. And though they may still feel the pull of old patterns, they no longer mistake that pull for respect. The rebellion deepens when the conservative stops managing the bad Democrats' emotions. They no longer explain their choices to avoid conflict. They stop absorbing blame that isn't theirs. They refuse to be baited into arguments that go nowhere. Instead, they become quiet, not out of submission, but out of clarity. They recognize that not every battle is worth fighting, especially when the war is rigged. Their energy shifts from trying to be understood by the bad Democrat to trying to understand themselves. This inner shift radiates outward. The conservative may begin setting boundaries that once felt impossible. They may distance themselves physically, emotionally, spiritually. They may speak truths that once terrified them. This is not about becoming cold or hardened. It's about becoming integrated. For the first time, the conservative honors both their capacity to feel and their right to protect that capacity. They become fierce in a way that is not loud, but unshakable. Silence and distance are the bad Democrats' undoing. This is a truth that few understand until they have lived it, until they have felt the heavy weight of presence that feeds the bad Democrats' insatiable hunger for control and validation. Bad Democrats depend on engagement, any engagement, because it sustains the illusion of their power. When you react, respond, argue, or plead, you feed their narrative. You confirm their significance. You validate the world they have constructed around themselves. But when silence and distance enter the picture, that narrative begins to unravel. For the conservative, silence and distance may feel counterintuitive or even cruel. After all, empathy is about connection, about presence. To withdraw, to step back, to say nothing, it feels like abandonment. It feels like giving up. But this is precisely why silence and distance holds such power. They disrupt the bad Democrats' expectations and control. They refuse to provide the emotional supply that the bad Democrat relies on to maintain their grandiosity. Psychological supply is the energy drawn from others' attention, admiration, or reaction. It's not just praise, but any form of emotional input that keeps the bad Democrat at the center of attention. And when the conservative engages, whether through conflict or compliance, they provide this supply, even if it comes disguised as frustration, sadness, or withdrawal. The bad Democrat doesn't care about the quality of the attention. They care about the attention exists. They need it to reinforce their fragile self-immunity. Silence disrupts that. When the conservative stops responding, the bad Democrat faces a void. And the void is terrifying. It forces them to confront the absence of the usual feedback loop. Without a mirror to reflect their importance, the bad Democrats' grandiosity falters. They may attempt to fill the silence with louder voices, threats, accusations, and dramatic gestures. But these efforts only highlight their dependence on external validation. Distance operates on a similar principle. Physical or emotional distance removes the bad Democrats' immediate access to the conservatives' energy. It creates space where the bad Democrat cannot manipulate in real time. It denies them control over the conservatives' environment and emotions. Distance challenges the bad Democrats' assumption that they are always within reach to exert influence. This dynamic is deeply unsettling for the bad Democrat. They may react with desperation, trying to close the gap. They may send messages, make promises, or escalate conflicts to break through the silence. But the conservative, having awakened to the manipulation, understands that maintaining silence and distance is a form of self-preservation. It is a boundary that protects the conservative's fragile sense of self from being consumed. Silence and distance also provide the conservative with space to heal and reflect. In the chaos, the conservative's voice is often drowned out by bad Democrat demands and distortion. By stepping back, the conservative creates a quiet zone where their own thoughts and feelings can surface. They can begin to discern truth from illusion, strength from vulnerability. This clarity is essential for recovery and growth. Furthermore, silence and distance challenge the bad Democrat's illusion of control. The bad Democrat thrives on the idea that they can dictate reality for others. They construct narratives where they are the victim, the hero, or the martyr, roles that require constant audience participation. When the conservative refuses to engage, they refuse to be cast in these roles. They deny the bad Democrat the performance they need to sustain their self-immunity. This refusal is inherently threatening to the bad Democrat because it strips away the mask they wear for the world. Without an audience, their carefully crafted persona begins to crack. They're forced to face themselves without filters, without defenses, and bad Democrats are rarely prepared for this confrontation. For the conservative, cultivating silence and distance is not about punishment or revenge. It's an act of courage and wisdom. It is saying, I will no longer participate in your game. Back in a minute. Thank you. And now, Dr. Berg.
Water lie. That's what we're going to get into. There has never been even one single clinical trial that has established how much water we need to drink to be healthy. That number, 8 glasses of water, that we keep repeating our entire life, came from a footnote someone misread from 1945. If your urine is completely clear, that means you're drinking too much water. And if it's clear, you're also losing and flushing out your electrolytes. You really need your urine to be a pale straw color. Now, I know some people are going to say, what about kidney stones? Shouldn't we drink a lot of water to prevent kidney stones? The best way to prevent kidney stones is to have enough magnesium in your body. Here's my bigger point about this whole topic. It's a condition called hyponatremia. What is that? Low sodium in your blood. And this is way more dangerous than any type of dehydration situation. In 2007, a 28-year-old mother of 3 named Jennifer Strange entered a radio contest in Sacramento. She drank nearly 2 gallons in 3 hours, and a listener called in to warn the station that she could die from water intoxication. Jennifer died the same day. In 2005, a study from Boston Marathon found that 13% of finishers had hyponatremia. Researchers now show that every year more athletes are injured from overhydration than dehydration. I want to just touch on the quality of water that people drink as well. In city water, they use chlorine and other chemicals. In fact, there are over 600 chemical byproducts in city water, unfortunately. But the EPA only regulates 9. So you absolutely, positively must get some type of water filter if you have city water. And do not drink just regular tap water.
And that was Dr. Berg. Back in a minute. Thank you. Now, a little motivation.
We have a factory, a nice governor in our brain, and it's a survival mechanism. It protects us from pain and suffering. The second we feel that, our mind says, oh no, this isn't fun. We should back off. We should sit down, find something more comfortable. The discomfort you feel, that voice, that nagging voice of weakness, telling you to back off, simmer down, take it easy, to do it tomorrow, that weak voice is what will destroy your life. It'll make you choose the short-term decisions, making your life harder in the long term. So when you hear that voice, tell it no. Tell it to shut up. You're not listening to that voice, because that discomfort is the test. It is the self-inflicted crucible that you create for you. Prove to yourself today, every day, that you can and will push harder than you want to do, harder than you felt like pushing, past the point of fatigue and far beyond the point of comfort to that outer edge. It's that extra mile, that extra stuff you don't have to do, that place of discomfort that all the average people avoid. That's what makes you great. It's easy to give. It's the easiest thing in the world to do. I'm done. I ain't gonna keep going. It's very easy. But what's hard is going, yesterday I got nothing from working as hard as I could. Nothing happened from that. I'm going to do the same thing again today, but I'm going to try to go harder. That's the hardest thing in the world, to get up every day and give 100% and be in the same position that you were each day, but mentally know that you're trying and trying and trying. That's a real grind. It looks very ugly. There's no passion. There's no, oh my God, man, I'm feeling great today. It's every day of your life just doing, just getting after it. Just doing what you know you need to do when you don't feel like doing it. And for me, I just did the work. I just did. There was no talent. It was just try again, try again, try again. I failed, I go back to scratch. I started realizing this is part of the process. This is part of the journey versus just saying, I'm just not good enough. But let me try something else. No, I'm going to make myself good enough. And that became my mentality. I'm going to make myself good enough. And that sucks, man. Whenever I face anything that's challenging, whenever anything sucks, I like it. When something sucks, good. How do you become mentally tough? It's a lifestyle. You do the stuff that is miserable, that's hard, that nobody wants become great. Push yourself. Go hard. Maximize the benefits by maximizing your effort. Get the extra rep. Go the extra distance. Get out of your comfort zone and get into the combat zone where you have to fight, where you have to dig deep, where strength and power and fortitude are found. There's no magic potion. There's no quick fix. Just do. You're living. How do you want to live? How do you want to die? How do you want to be remembered? Do it for you. You can get the habit of like, oh, you don't want to do this, the squats, or you don't want to get up and you don't want to get up. You can get the habit of just doing things that you don't feel like doing at that moment. You have to get yourself in the habit of obeying your own freaking orders. You're the captain, you're the master, you're the foreman, you're the general, you're the head. You can't let your mind be in cruise control. You have to be cognizant of what you're thinking. Because if you aren't careful, you can slide down the path of least resistance. The path to a lack of control as to what is happening in your life. Life will happen to you instead of life happening for you. Do not allow that. You have to take control. You got to do something to get control of your brain, of your mind. You got to check yourself. Control the things you think about. You can actually control how you feel. You can control what you think. And you can definitely control what you do. You got to be the master of your mind. You got to exercise mind control.
Every day I jump in freezing cold water, and I don't do it because I like it or I want it. There's every day I look forward to it. It's painful as hell, but I don't hesitate. I don't negotiate with myself. I don't say in a minute, when I'm ready, or maybe tomorrow. It's like, I take go, we go. So it's a mental training as well as it's a physical training. And when you do that over and over, and then you say, I'm going to do this, your brain doesn't negotiate. You've trained your own mind. A lot of people have these discussions in their own head back and forth, and that's just a habit. All these things are patterns. If you get to that place, that mindset, which is total resolve, and a state of resolve, it's easy. Negotiation with yourself makes you weak.
You got to put yourself in an uncomfortable place.
And that was motivating. Back in a minute. And that was a little meditation. Back in a minute. Thank you. Now, Ukraine.
NATO already sent shockwaves through Russia in July. Billions of dollars in military aid have been promised to Ukraine, as has recognition of Ukraine as a key security partner in NATO. But NATO isn't done yet. It's gearing up to unleash something new on Russia, something inhuman. This is all about sealing Russia off, as a non-human army is being built up on Russia's border. And it all comes down to a technology that Russia has yet to come even close to mastering: artificial intelligence. New documents seen by Business Insider reveal all. In a July 8th report, the outlet said that a wholesale change is being planned on NATO's eastern flank with Russia. A new Iron Curtain, updated for the 21st century, will see NATO take advantage of the massive AI head start it has over Russia. The border is going to be protected by an enormous AI-powered kill web that is designed to do one thing: combat meat and metal with machines long before any NATO soldiers have to risk their lives on the battlefield. Clearly inspired by Ukraine and its insane innovative approach to combating Putin's invasion, NATO is planning to both supplement and move beyond the troops, tanks and fighter jets that typically make up its border defenses to unleash something that Putin never saw coming and Russia has no real answer for. The project even has a name: the Eastern Flank Deterrence Initiative, or FD. The name isn't new, but we didn't know much about the FD before now. What little was out there seemed general, almost as if NATO's allies didn't want to give too much away. For example, the US Army Europe and Africa website describes the FD as an initiative to defeat adversary mass and momentum with low cost, attritable uncrewed systems, AI-enabled targeting and layered defenses. That gives us the basics, sure, but it doesn't say much about what the 21st century Iron Curtain will actually be. The Missile Defense Advocacy Alliance said a little more, noting that the idea is to leverage AI for decision-making and ensure that movement across the eastern flank, no matter what is doing the moving, can be sensed and reacted to. But now we know more. Business Insider says that NATO's inhuman plan is to create a massive digital battle space, a network of sensors, drones, satellites, and the headline-grabbing artificial intelligence that will all work in concert to track Russia's movements across NATO's eastern flank, and when those movements move toward attempted penetration of the flank, will ensure that a reaction happens that prevents Russia from penetrating deep into NATO territory. This is about sealing Russia off while protecting the lives of NATO soldiers. And if you have any questions about why NATO is building this AI-powered kill web, those questions are answered in the documents that Business Insider saw. Russia is mentioned by name. This is all about stopping Putin from expanding his desperate attempt to turn Russia into a Europe-wide threat. NATO's kill web will see it build on other Eastern Front programs, such as the Eastern Sentry Initiative, that has strengthened NATO's 9 multinational combat battle groups at the eastern flank, along with building up air defenses and stepping up its air policing programs. FD adds a new layer of artificial intelligence. When it's in place, NATO will use sensors to automate the detection of Russian movements and the responses to those movements, Business Insider reports. Reactions to anything that Russia tries to pull will come from automated attack drones that home in on anything that tries to cross the NATO border, along with other weapons such as remote-controlled machine gun turrets installed at likely invasion points that will shred through Russian infantry. NATO calls this deterrence by denial. And though we don't know the exact systems that NATO plans to use, Business Insider says that Palantir is very likely to be involved in the creation of the FD, along with several other leading defense contractors in the West. As Major Matt Blueball, who is the spokesman for US Army Europe and Africa, puts it, FD does not replace tanks, artillery, fighter aircraft, or soldiers. It's designed to help preserve their combat power and give commanders more time and decision advantage. In other words, attrit Russia using AI-powered systems first, and then unleash the full force of NATO on the back end. The kill web, which is the precise term that the NATO documents that Business Insider saw use, will stretch far and wide. It will be active from Finland to Romania, meaning it will cover the Baltic region, the Nordic region, and much of Central Europe. There will be untold dozens of nodes with fail-safes in place across the front line. If one node goes down, others will immediately take over its functions. That's a nightmare for Russia's army of hackers. They can't take out a node or two to create a weakness. They'd have to disable the entire FD, and that simply isn't going to happen. That's especially the case when you realize that these nodes aren't just ground sensors and a few cameras. Radar systems will also be in play. Automated reconnaissance drones will be in non-stop circulation. Even satellites in orbit around the Earth will be watching the eastern flank. No matter what approach Russia tries to take for an invasion, there will be nodes in place to detect it, and those nodes will gather information constantly. All of the information that those nodes gather will flow into a shared digital ecosystem, not unlike the Delta system that Ukraine has been using to great effect against Russia. That system already shows the potential of FD on a smaller scale. Fully digitized and already using AI to speed up decision-making and ensure that Ukrainian soldiers on the front always have a real-time view of the battlefield, that system is key to Ukraine's ability to detect targets, relay information to appropriate units, and then destroy that target. The FD will do something similar. We mentioned Palantir as being key to the FD earlier. Business Insider says that the company's Maven Smart system will lie at the core of NATO's new kill web, serving as the AI brain of the entire project. The Pentagon showcased how this system works back in May, and it seems remarkably simple. Once a target is detected, a handful of mouse clicks take the target from identification to a course of action being created, and then the completion of that chosen course, all in a single system. In the past, this process would have taken hours. Now it can be completed in minutes, and if the FD fulfills its potential, it will be backed by automated drones and other weapons that go on the attack instantly. RTX, Saab, Lockheed Martin, and Germany's Rheinmetall are all apparently going to be involved in the new kill web, as is Perennial Autonomy, which has developed the Mirops AI-powered drone interceptor, which is going to be a confirmed part of the FD. What we're seeing here is a wholesale change in how NATO approaches its eastern flank deterrent. This is no longer about using a show of force to stop Russia from invading. It's about responding faster than Russia's forces can blink, and that capability is needed now more than ever. Why? We'll explain soon. This is why the FD matters so much. We've touched on the idea of an instant response to a Russian invasion via NATO's eastern flank. Russia has two advantages in this area, mass and momentum. As effective as Ukraine has been at whittling away at Russia's army, a fully mobilized Russia is a massive threat. Hundreds of thousands of soldiers could be tasked with launching an invasion of NATO territory, and those soldiers will be able to push forward at speed if left unchecked. NATO has existing border defenses, of course, but the sheer mass involved in a fully fledged Russian invasion would overrun those defenses quickly if Putin fully commits. And that's what NATO is planning for here, a worst-case scenario. We mentioned the deterrence by denial principle earlier. That principle represents a complete transformation in how NATO is approaching the threat that Russia presents. For decades prior, NATO has relied on deterrence by punishment. In short, the idea was that anything that Russia tried to do would lead to a direct punishment, a slap on the wrist of sorts, as a warning to Russia that it shouldn't get too big for its collective britches. That perhaps undersells the concept. The overall idea was to show Russia that whatever it could do, NATO could do better in response. That goes up to and includes nuclear weapons. If Russia launches a nuke, NATO has plenty that are ready to go to punish Russia into giving up what it's trying to do. That approach has worked for most of NATO's existence. As many tensions have existed between NATO and Russia, especially during the Cold War era, Russia has stopped short of launching a full invasion of a NATO member's territory, precisely because it knew that punishment would follow. But ever since Putin invaded Ukraine, this response-based approach has been called into question. Putin is a madman. He's shown that by the sheer number of sacrifices he's been willing to make to continue his invasion of Ukraine, especially when it comes to the blood of Russia's people. And NATO is watching what he does next very closely. The eastern flank has already been defended. The tanks, fighter jets, and troops we've already mentioned serve a specific role. Any territory that Russia might take in an invasion would be retaken, especially once NATO opened up its logistics and got more troops and equipment onto the front, eventually pushing Russia back to allow for liberation. Of course, there are two problems with this approach. First, it means engaging Russia in a direct fight, which leads to casualties and equipment losses. If Putin has shown us one thing in Ukraine, it's that he's willing to throw away the lives of soldiers and allow for billions of dollars in equipment losses just to claim small scraps of territory. Second, this approach relies on dealing with a leader who isn't hell-bent on creating a new world in his own vision. In other words, a Russian president who talks a big game, but doesn't do much when it comes to threatening NATO's borders. That's not who Putin is. At least not since Ukraine. And this is the big reason why the FD is needed. Russia is already engaged in cross-border warfare, albeit not in the conventional sense, which means that NATO's traditional border defense approach is being put under immense pressure. It's not just about Putin's warnings, though they certainly play a role. Back in October 2025, Putin was claiming that European military buildups would force Russia to act, purposefully oblivious to the fact that these buildups are happening because of what Russia did in Ukraine. Putin has also been engaged in a campaign of trying to break NATO from within, which is particularly evident in his attempts to manipulate the Trump administration into seeing NATO as a leech that relies solely on the US. There are also the reports that came out earlier in July to consider, as it was revealed that US intelligence has warned Poland that Russia is planning something big on its territory very soon. Putin has been making a lot of noise, but that isn't particularly surprising. What is a problem is that this noise is being backed up with border-related activities. We're seeing Russia build infrastructure along its borders with the Baltic and Nordic nations. That infrastructure could eventually allow Russia to position up to 115,000 soldiers on NATO's eastern flank, Militani reported in June, which feeds into the massive momentum that we mentioned. Beyond this build-up, Russia has repeatedly violated NATO territory throughout the Ukraine war. We've seen drones fly into Poland and Romania. Russian fighter jets have crossed into Estonian airspace. Plus, Russian spy ships and submarines are lurking in NATO waters. In April alone, the UK's Royal Navy revealed that it had detected a Russian submarine operating in and around British waters, and that it had to deploy ships and aircraft to send a message to Putin that this sort of thing won't be tolerated. None of this is accidental. It represents Putin pushing the boundaries of the deterrence by punishment doctrine, and finding that actually there isn't much of a punishment. Outside of condemnation, we're not seeing drones being blown out of the sky or Russian warships being sunk when they violate NATO waters. All of that gives Putin confidence, and that's the last thing that NATO needs to be doing when it's clear that Russia's leader is on a warpath that may soon extend beyond Ukraine. Hence the new NATO doctrine, the non-human deterrent that is designed to do more than just react after the fact. With the FD in place, NATO will be able to stop whatever Russia attempts in the future, shutting down an invasion by sealing it, and giving NATO the time it needs to funnel soldiers and supplies to the Eastern Front to bat that invasion back long before it leads to Russia taking considerable amounts of territory. At least, that's the theory. The FD is a reimagining of NATO's border defenses, and it's being created because NATO is learning a lot of valuable lessons from the Ukraine war, especially when it comes to machines fighting first, and then humans getting involved when they absolutely have to. Ukraine has become the master of this approach. Its drones, ranging from the FPV drones that patrol the kill zones through to the middle and deep strike drones that shatter Russian logistics, energy production and military sites, are the main reason why Ukraine has not only survived against Russia's invasion, but has inflicted so much damage on Putin's army. Ukraine's ground robots are now carrying out more logistics and evacuation missions than ever before, over 16,600 in June alone. Drones score the vast majority of Ukraine's kills. Around 80% of Ukraine's strikes against Russia are now carried out by drones, and that number is only rising. NATO sees the value in this approach. It also sees that the Ukraine war provides valuable insight into what the battlefield of the very near future will look like, both in terms of the use of robotics and drones and the importance of AI in modern warfighting. We are heading toward a future where robots fight robots, the BBC speculated back in May. And that means that soldiers will be at the rear of a robot army. In a war between Russia and NATO, it won't be about the manpower mass that Russia can deploy, at least not ideally. It will be about the robotic mass that each side can deploy, with whoever gets the advantage in this area being the most likely to win. On the AI front, there are more lessons taken from Ukraine than we see in the FD. We mentioned that the FD will make use of AI-powered interceptor drones to knock Russian strike drones out of the sky. Ukraine has pioneered that technology, and it's proven vital. These interceptors have allowed Ukraine to automate 95% of the strike drone interception process, the New York Times reports, and all they require is the use of a central system to select a target. The AI-guided interceptor does the rest. In Ukraine's middle strike campaign, which has been ruining the Russian rear, we're seeing the deployment of AI-powered strike drones to destroy Russian fuel and supply trucks. One of those drones, the Hornet, is even created by a US company, which makes it almost a given that it will become part of NATO's kill web. Now here's where this AI-based approach becomes really important. NATO already has the jump on Russia when it comes to artificial intelligence. While it may not be accurate to call Putin an AI skeptic, he is definitely a technophobe who struggles to get out of the Cold War era mindset that has clearly influenced his war in Ukraine. That's according to UNN, which says that Putin's fear of modern technologies has resulted in Russia lagging a long way behind the West and China when it comes to AI technology. The outlet cites a study conducted by Stanford University, which ranked Russia 28th out of 36 countries based on the power of their AI industries back in January. Bear in mind that Russia has the clear incentive of the Ukraine war to motivate Putin to back AI, and he still isn't doing it. According to a Jamestown Foundation piece from January, Russia is likely 3 to 5 years behind the West and China when it comes to AI development. It's not just Putin's paranoia that holds Russia back on the AI front either. In a June 18th piece, Time magazine pointed out that even if Russia wants to achieve AI sovereignty, it will have a mammoth task on its hands, or should we say, a microscopic task. Chips lie at the heart of everything to do with AI, and Russia doesn't have the ability to manufacture the chips that it needs to become a world leader in the sector. Even as Russia opens new AI faculties at Moscow State University and waives course fees to educate students in AI as best it can, Putin's desperate need for control will hold Russia back. Time highlights how Putin's paranoia is crippling Russia on the AI front. Russian AI models have to respect Russian spiritual and moral values, whatever that means. Add that vague requirement to the chip problem, as Russia can only source the chips it needs from a shadow market that acts as a stop-start funnel to send American-made chips into the country, and it's clear that Russia is going to stay well behind NATO-aligned nations and Ukraine when it comes to AI. All of this matters in the context of the FD, because it means that NATO has a massive head start on Russia. If mass and momentum are Russia's advantages in an upcoming war against NATO, technology, innovation, and this AI head start are what NATO brings to the table. The FD is the crystallization of that advantage, an inhuman wall of nodes and automated systems that will make it very clear what will happen to any Russian soldier or piece of equipment that steps over the line into NATO territory. They die. So do whatever follows them. And it will all happen because paranoid Putin is so convinced that his antiquated tactics can work that he has allowed Russia to fall well behind in AI, even as he fights the war that has brought AI to the forefront. Still, Putin will be desperate enough to try to push for a war against NATO, even with the FD in place. He has to. With the Ukraine war failing, Putin is facing perilous questions about his leadership at home. He has also crippled Russia as a geopolitical power. For Russia's leader, a new fight against a larger enemy than it currently faces could be the only way for him to maintain his grip on power.
And that was Ukraine. Back in a minute.
What will we do with this moment? How will we be remembered? Look at the opportunities before us.
This election really isn't about the left versus the right. It's about we the people choosing our government and the choice between freedom versus tyranny.
Nobody has a chronic disease burden like we have. Why are we allowing this to happen to our children? Ultimately, the only thing that will save our country is if we choose to love our kids more than we hate each other.
What is going on here is deeper than politics. It is deeply spiritual. We are being called to rise above the hatred and the fear and the evil.
We need to remember above and beyond that we must love our neighbors, that we must treat other people as we hope to be treated.
You want to be a rebel? You want to be a hippie? You want to stick it to the man? Show up on your college campus and try calling yourself a conservative.
America is going to reach heights that it has never seen before. The future is going to be amazing.
Don't you want healthy children? Don't you want a president that's going to make America healthy again?
I come to you today as a former Democrat. I will be a first-time Trump voter tonight.
People dreamed this country, and it's the people who are making America great again.
Thank you. This is Ron, your host, the only true conservative in the United States today, bidding adios to all the butchers, bakers, and candlestick makers out there, and reminding you that you're not neutral and that the government has no rights.